Okay, this person says, hello there, I've been wondering about something that's come up a few times. How exactly do you tell when someone is actually possessed and when they are not possessed? How do you know when whatever it was has finally left? Thanks so much, love. Always good to get a clear answer. Bye for now. Right. Nice and simple. How do you know if someone's possessed? Well, again, it's a kind of the idea of possession, the idea of the psychic space, and how it works is through, it amplifies fear. Not intentionally. It's like, you stand in a big valley and you shout your name, it'll echo. Is that like the valley trying to do something to you? Reflect back something to you? Well, probably not. It's just the valley being a valley. Psychic space is kind of the same. It amplifies and reflects back your fear. So if you're afraid of people being possessed, you'll be terrified of people being possessed. You'll see it everywhere. So that's one thing to consider. The other thing is that we're all kind of possessed in one way or another, in as much as we all have unconsciousness. We all have our little atoms of unconsciousness that we are working through, turning into consciousness. So you could say when you are so angry that you're seeing red and you're saying cruel, hurtful things to people that you love, you could say that you're being possessed in a way. And that is true. So I think when you don't other somebody and go, oh, you're possessed and you're, it's really dangerous, you're really dangerous, then it's not so fearful. So when you don't point the finger at somebody else, it helps to bring down the fear levels. So having said all of that and not wanting to, I don't mean to contradict myself, but possession is a thing also, meaning that depending on what is going on with a person, sometimes there can be a vacancy in the person and a psychic entity can kind of move in a little bit and take them over a bit. You puppet them a little bit. Now, I know that sounds like I'm contradicting myself, but it does happen. And I'd be kidding you just to say it doesn't. But fundamentally, it's the same thing. Fundamentally, it's unconsciousness. Fundamentally, it's unconsciousness in the person. So the thing is not to go, oh my God, they're possessed. You're possessed, I'm possessed in the same way. In what people call possession and what can be possession, it's just a concentration of what I'm talking about unconsciousness in the form of a particular entity that sees a sort of a vacancy in the person. So the main sort of most helpful thing you can do in the face of all that is to know that about the mystery, and that everything in the psychic space is trying to avoid the mystery. So once you know that, then you're not so freaked out by it. It can be diminished. And really from the outside, you wouldn't notice the difference, I don't think, between somebody who has a lot of unconsciousness and someone who's possessed, technically possessed. And the only difference is, as far as I can see, and as far as what I have worked with is, when you're dealing with your own unconsciousness, it's like this is the unconsciousness you have drawn to yourself to work with and process through your whole life. Possession by an entity is like not your unconsciousness. I mean, there's a part of your unconsciousness that sort of left the door open to be possessed to begin with. That's a different thing. That is part of your unconsciousness. But there's a sort of a quality of being taken over, which again, that's very hard to tell the difference between somebody being taken over by anger, or taken over by jealousy, or taken over by lust, or taken over by greed, which might be the person's own unconsciousness. So I think it's probably, unless you're very actively engaged in helping people with psychic stuff, or it comes up in your work like it does in mine, I think knowing the difference between someone who's possessed and who isn't, it's kind of, I think it's probably you're better off not to worry about it too much, because fundamentally, when you break it all down, it's the same thing. It is psychic atoms in varying conglomerations, just like real atoms, you know, that make up different things like trees and benches and bodies and animals. I don't get too disturbed by the different things in existence, and it's kind of the same with psychic stuff. So unless you're involved in helping people with it, I think the main focus is just the mystery, and not letting the fear overtake you, and to not other people, meaning, oh, this is a good person and that person's possessed. I think if you think like that, then that's your own unconsciousness coming up. And in terms of protection, the psychic space is a dual space, so there's good and bad. So if you think of, oh, how do I protect myself, which is another way of saying, how do I fight the bad stuff, then you're kind of stuck in the psychic space. Whereas if you focus on the mystery, where there is no duality, and becoming familiar with that, and being able to go to it and bring it with you, be conscious of it all the time, then you're naturally repellent to any kind of psychic stuff, because the psychic stuff doesn't like the mystery, because it stopped short of it. It didn't continue on into it during the process of death. So knowing about the mystery, focusing on the mystery, meditating with your focus being on the mystery, the way I teach people, or it doesn't have to be the way I teach people, whatever way, but if the focus is on the mystery, then everything sort of takes care of itself.